At the beginning of the movie, we see a little girl whose birthday cake gets smeared with a little boy's face. This girl is extremely angry and has never managed to make any good friends. Despite many treatment attempts, his condition did not improve. His parents and doctors explain that he suffers from intermittent explosive disorder, a mental illness where a person explodes with anger over even small reasons, sometimes even becoming violently aggressive. The girl, named Lindy, uses an electric shock device as therapy to control his anger. For the first time, someone shows him affection, so he sets out toward a couple's restaurant to meet her. However, trouble seems to follow him wherever he goes. For example, while parking his car, he sees a man treating a woman badly. Lindy's anger flares up, and unable to control himself, he goes over, uses a car door to hit the man, and seemingly breaks his leg, but it turns out this was just his imagination. Lindy then enters the restaurant, where he meets a man named Justin. They first meet online, and Justin speaks to him in such a friendly way that Lindy cannot ignore him. As they order food, a female waiter appears, but struggles to match Lindy's choice with the menu. A short conversation follows, and Lindy nearly loses control again. Soon, he hears the waiter talking on the phone. She had just whispered some words about a woman to someone else. Hearing this, Lindy imagines killing the woman. His anger rises so much that his electric device stops working. He slams a toilet door, hits the woman, and knocks her out, though he does not kill her. After this, he leaves the restaurant without meeting Justin. When Lindy returns home, we see his body wired with various cables connected to an electric device. Whenever he presses its switch, he feels a shock that reduces his anger a bit, although this shock is harmful to him. The next morning, he meets a man who, upon seeing him, quickly draws a pistol and warns him to stay away. Lindy's doctor had given that man the electric device and even tied Lindy's hand with a metal rod, suggesting that until Lindy learns to truly love someone, no one can be safe around him. Lindy takes the doctor's words to heart. Later, Lindy and Justin start spending time together. They share their backgrounds. Justin works as an accountant, while Lindy admits he loves taking pictures, but doesn't own a camera. One morning, Justin gifts Lindy a box, and Lindy is surprised because it's the first time someone has shown him genuine affection. Justin then invites him for dinner at his home, a day that Justin calls the best of his life because he has never felt such happiness before. Lindy spends the day wandering around, taking pictures, and eventually visits the doctor. The doctor is initially scared because he had just taken Lindy's shock device the day before, but then understands that Lindy is coming to thank him for his help. As Lindy leaves without properly saying thanks, he jokes that his home might soon catch fire with all this happiness. Then, when Lindy calls Justin at home, someone answers and tells him that Justin is no longer alive. Shocked and confused, Lindy later hears that Justin's body was recovered from a garbage bin with bullet wounds to his head. The investigation into the murder remains unsolved. Lindy asks Detective Branch if he can see Justin's body, but the detective explains that by law only family members may see a dead body. While trying to comfort Lindy, the detective accidentally hurts him and even shoots a woman with his broken finger. But this, too, turns out to be part of Lindy's imagination. Feeling unsafe, Lindy leaves. The next day, he urgently calls Detective Branch to meet, and as they step outside, another man enters the office carrying an ID card and heads for a locker. Curious about the full story, Lindy checks the locker's file, finds Justin's mobile phone and wallet, and uses the address inside to go to Justin's apartment. He is amazed to see such a large home for an accountant. At that moment, the detective warns him on the phone to be careful because Nevin will soon be arriving. While Lindy grabs a car key and escapes, Nevin appears, and the detective, talking on the phone, finds a way for Lindy to get rid of a gun in Nevin's hands. Lindy then flees in Justin's car. Even though he has never driven a supercar before, he eventually adjusts to it. Meanwhile, while speaking with the detective on the phone, Lindy expresses his desire to personally inspect the incident, but the police will not allow it. Suddenly, the detective's car is involved in an accident. During this time, Lindy meets a young hacker, a person who calls herself a hacking expert. She explains that the phone Lindy has belongs to her boyfriend, a murder victim, and that the police have been unable to identify the killers. Determined to take responsibility, she helps Lindy, though she finds that all data on the phone has been erased. By hacking the phone calls, she uncovers an address and a name, Barry, an FBI-registered arms dealer. Lindy does not pursue further details, and after leaving Justin's car key with the phone, goes to meet Barry. He must pass several tests to meet Barry, and even after all his efforts to evade the police, Lindy remains determined. Barry eventually agrees to talk, but he does not know that Justin is still alive. In their conversation, when Lindy asks for Justin's boss's name and address, Barry quietly refuses to share the information, mentioning someone named Babaji. We then learn that Justin, who once worked for this boss, is actually Garrett Faisal, a top mafia figure in the city. To meet him, Lindy has to overcome several hurdles because he does not know Faisal's address. Meanwhile, the detective is injured and hospitalized. Lindy brings a flower to the detective and says he is learning the name of Justin's murderer. The detective warns him that Faisal is a dangerous man with many charges for illegal arms, smuggling, drugs, and other criminal activities. But so far, no law enforcement agency has been able to touch him. Lindy promises to put Faisal in his place. Just as Nevin arrives, the detective hands Lindy Faisal's address. Soon after, chaos erupts in the hospital. Lindy rushes into a baby care unit where a baby suddenly begins crying. As Lindy tries to quiet the baby, Nevin shows up. Knowing that Nevin would never shoot in such a setting, Lindy picks up a baby and throws it toward Nevin. Nevin catches the baby and puts it on a bed. But Lindy grabs another baby and throws it again, using the distraction to escape. In the next scene, Lindy stands in front of the tallest building in the city. He enters Faisal's apartment complex and asks the security about Faisal. A man then takes him inside, and while riding the elevator, Lindy notices that it is descending instead of going up. Realizing something is wrong, the man attacks and knocks him out. When Lindy wakes up, he finds himself locked in a room. He recounts the entire story, from the beginning of his relationship with Justin to Justin's murder. But the man listening does not believe that Faisal was involved. Eventually, he is taken out and driven home. Later, the security person informs Faisal about Lindy's story. Even after hearing Lindy's account, Faisal seems unconcerned about killing Justin. The next day, Lindy returns home and gathers several explosive materials to build a bomb. He loads the bomb into a bag, turns on his home's gas line, and places a small explosive in his oven. Then he leaves his home, and shortly after, his entire house explodes. Lindy then attempts another way to enter the building, but he is caught by security again and taken straight to Faisal. Hearing Lindy's story, Faisal says that in the past few days, several people have been killed, though he did not target anyone personally. He had no grudge against Lindy. Hearing Faisal's cold words, Lindy becomes even angrier, and the security man strikes him with a baton, knocking him out. When Lindy regains consciousness, he finds himself in the same room as before. But now, he is not ready for what comes next. A machine begins draining all the blood from his body, trying to kill him by leaving him bloodless. In the ensuing fight, during which Lindy's anger reaches a peak, he breaks the security guard's spine. Then, learning the way to reach Faisal, he escapes only to find that Faisal has been murdered. He can hardly believe it, since the person he was after turned out to be so elusive. Soon after, the same man reappears, and the situation spirals out of control. But the biggest surprise is yet to come. It turns out that Justin is still alive. We then realize that Justin had been using Lindy all along. He pretended to love Lindy and orchestrated the murder so that Lindy would take revenge on Faisal. Justin wanted to monopolize the mafia business and eliminate Faisal to gain full control. That is why he chose Lindy with the doctor's help, knowing that if Lindy could be made to love someone wholeheartedly, he would be willing to give up his life, and the doctor's experiment would succeed, clearing Justin's path. Earlier, the previous doctor had given Justin a remote for Lindy's electric device. In a fit of madness, Justin pressed the remote, causing Lindy to writhe in pain. Lindy soon realizes that a devil-like figure stands before him. His eyes begin to shrink, and within seconds the electric shock no longer affects him. He then hands the bag over to Justin and walks straight toward the elevator. Justin opens the bag and finds a remote-controlled bomb inside. When Lindy presses the button on the remote, a massive explosion engulfs the entire house and Faisal's mansion, and Lindy is thrown from the elevator. The movie ends with this final devastating explosion.